Living with alcoholics can require a lifetime worth of healing. Welcome back to another episode of Irrepressible, ordinary people with extraordinary resilience. And in today's episode, I speak to the incredible Martin Pratt. Martin talks about his life growing up and living with alcoholics and the impact it had on his life, his well-being, and what he's needed to do to move through that. This is a really powerful episode. Martin embraces his vulnerability, lays it all on the table, and gives us some real opportunity to learn from his difficult experiences, from how he's moved from that to where he is and happy in his life today. If you enjoy this episode, then please make sure that you have subscribed to the channel and you turned on those notifications so you know each and every time that I post a new video. Martin, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm really well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm excited to speak to you. I find you an inspirational person in what you've been through and what you do. So before we get started, why don't you quickly just tell us who you are and what you're doing in the world today?
Okay, so I'm Martin. I'm a family man. I've got a little girl who's 1. Been married for a few years now. I'm a centre manager as work, and I also do volunteering for NACOA, which I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
I talk a lot of it online and try and spread awareness.
Yeah.
So that's what I try and do.
Yeah, I love what you do for NACOA online. I love your passion. Really comes through, and it's really important. And as somebody who follows you online, your being a family man really comes through as well. I think it's really admirable. You know how you are as a dad. So why don't we get straight into it? And you know we want to talk about resilience today. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the adversity you faced and why you've had to be resilient in your life?
Okay, so for the people that are not aware, for most of my life it was dominated by alcoholics. Probably from the age of 16 till I was about 28, I lived with alcoholics. To say there was no such thing as a normal day, I would come home and it would be something new every day. It was always a changing environment and stuff like that. So for example, I'll come home, no one would be in, so that was a good day. Sometimes I'll come in and a person's passed out on the floor, so you know I've got to jump in and call an ambulance. Sometimes I'll come home and face verbal abuse and stuff like that. And it was really tough because home is meant to be your safe place. And for my life, most of the time, being outside and doing things outside was my safe place. It was a complete roles reverse. It was really difficult, but you know, at times as well, like me dealing with alcoholics kind of would spill into my personal life. So for one example, my friend was taking me home from football training, and one of the persons was passed out on the road in busy traffic, so I had to pick him up and take him in the pub and stuff like that. So it just dominated my life for such a long time. And I think when I was young, I kind of realised that this was going to be the normal. And it was really difficult. I didn't have a place called home, and you know, and it was really difficult.
You said it started when you were like 16. Is that when it was? Is that like when it got bad? Was it ever like that before when you was younger?
No, so it's strange. Like, so before 16, everything was great, and I was a very lucky child. You know, the people done really well for me, and it just felt normal. It was normal, and then there was an event and it just kind of exploded. And then the next day, there was no such thing as family life anymore, and then behaviours started to change. So things started. I started noticing things, and it kind of got me thinking. At first, I didn't really think anything of it. So a person would go to work, and then my walk path from college used to be by one of the pubs, and I was like, oh, it's 12 o'clock. Like, why are they there? And then when I spoke to that person later, I just threw it out there how it was work. They said that I was really busy. I was in, I think it was London or something like that. And I remember thinking, that's not right. That's not what I saw. And this person's lying to me. And then, and it just, they were absent from the house a lot more than what they used to be. And then it got really bad to times where I would come home to the home I was living in. There's no electricity. I sit in the dark. And that's when I knew there was a real problem. And that was one side of it. The other one was obviously finding and then passed out in the streets and stuff. So it just seemed wherever I turned, I was facing this, facing difficulty.
And was it just you that lived with them?
To begin with, it was me and my brother.
Right.
And then he moved out. I didn't really have anywhere to go, so I had to stay. And just face the challenges that I'm afraid it came with.
Yeah, that must have been so lonely when it went down to being, particularly when it was just you.
It was really lonely, and like looking back on it now, my brother obviously knew what had gone on and stuff, but I never really properly spoke to him about it. I'll be honest, I never really told people how I felt about the situation. I would tell what had happened to my closest friends, but actually saying how I felt and, it sometimes deeply wounded me. I didn't say anything. So it was very, very lonely for a long time.
Why do you think you didn't say anything? Because if you did, like, you had to fully admit how you were feeling and you didn't want to sort of look at it, or?
I think when I was young, I didn't know how to process it, really.
Yeah.
I didn't really know what it was I felt, because events happen so quickly. You have that initial emotion, so straight away you might get upset and stuff, but I didn't know how I felt about it because I don't think I allowed myself to. So because it was so chaotic all the time, I had my first emotion, so I might be angry for a bit, but then I kind of, right, well, something else is going to happen, so I've got to carry on. And I think when I didn't know, and you wouldn't be able to explain it to someone. You think I got so used to doing that, for such a long while, I never, not till I moved out and obviously started realising what was going on, I never really spoke about it.
No, it's very, like, I've got similar experiences when I was younger. And it's something that I find when I speak to a lot of people, is that when you're in it, when you're actually in it, when you're living it, I think that's the hardest time. It's like it's almost like you can't afford to like even acknowledge how you feel until it's in the past, and then it starts sort of coming out and you have to start processing it. I think that's certainly what happened for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember I used to live out in a village, and I used to walk a lot before I got a bike. There was hardly any buses. There was an incident where I couldn't get in the house, and this person was at the pub, and I had to sit outside to 2 o'clock in the morning till they returned. But to be honest, I had a lot of thinking, and I just thought, right, okay, like, this is it. What can I do now? And I kind of set a goal of trying to be away as much as possible.
Mm.
I would do anything to be away. So if it meant walking and stuff like that, that's what I was going to do. But I think because I try keeping myself so busy and just taking the initial the emotional reaction, I never gave myself time to stop and think, really.
Yeah, no, that's really relatable, especially the kind of keeping yourself busy in the end as a way of just kind of trying to deal with it.
Mm.
So what do you think? I mean, firstly, I just want to sort of appreciate what you've shared there and what you've had the ability to share there. I think it takes a hell of a lot of courage. What do you think? You know, we're talking about resilience today. So what do you think enabled you to be able to be resilient? What were the things that you did or the things that helped you that really enabled you to get through such a difficult time?
I think for me, I kind of, like the event I spoke about, I kind of set goals.
Mm.
So I was going to keep away from them as much as possible and stuff like that. So I would plough myself into work. Um, any football I could play, I'll do it, whether it be 11 side, 50 side, because that there I could get some emotion out.
Mm.
And in, like, I never at a young age, I never really seeked any sort of help, because like I said, I didn't know. So it was more thinking, well, what do I want?
Mm.
And I do remember one goal, which I'm really proud I hit. I remember sitting there and thinking, I want my own family.
Yeah.
I sat there on the doorstep, like, I want my own family and stuff like this. And I'm going to love them and they're going to love me. And, I worked really hard for the goal. So I think goal setting
Yeah.
really helped me as I went through life. Football, like I said, was a great help to me. It was an escape.
Mm.
And, just getting that little bit of time helps kind of recharge you for what you
Yeah.
would face. And I did face a lot.
Yeah. I felt a little bit emotional then when you said about I want a family. I'm gonna get my own family. I proper remember as a kid, as a child, thinking like when I'm older, all I want to do is have a family, have kids, and be like an amazing dad. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's took me a bit of work to kind of get there to where I am today, but I really that really resonates with me. That desire to have that. And so, what
Yeah.
do you feel like you like? I know some of the answers to some of the things I'm answering you, obviously, but do you feel like you've got that now? That family unit. I know you're a family man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I've got it 1,000 times more. I've got an amazing little girl, a brilliant wife who supported me through a very difficult journey.
Yeah.
Obviously, when she came into my life, I had to trust and tell her the things that obviously went on, and she said okay, and let's do it together. So
And
yeah.
how soon after meeting? Because I think that's a really sort of powerful thing there, and an important point that I've not really heard spoken about. How early on, when you met your wife, did you tell her about the situation that you've had to live in?
It took a while.
Yeah.
It took a little while, but I think for me, even though I knew it was true, some things were so crazy and not normal. I kind of resisted telling her, because I thought, God, like, when you say it, sometimes you think, God, that sounds balmy. Like, is she going to believe me and stuff?
Yeah.
And so we went to go visit a person, and what happened was, this person asked for, do you want a drink? I said no, and Holly said no. And then this person said, I'm going to have orange juice. So what they did was they turned their back around. I don't know why they thought I wouldn't see what was going to happen. So they took a bottle of wine out, poured it into a cup, then poured orange juice in it, and then turned around, drank it, and said, I really love orange juice. And I remember just looking, like, did you see that? And I think she always believed me, like what I said, but that event kind of just showed some of the things that I had to face.
Yeah. And are those people still in your life today?
Not really, no.
Right.
Ooh, bit emotional. I think it took a while, but I just kind of realised that having them close was really damaging. And when I moved out and stuff, I wanted to sort of okay, this really isn't going to change, and if I stay near this scenario, it's not going to make me feel better. And then obviously I've got a child now, and they're depending on me and stuff, and for me, I just looked at it and accepted that at arm's length is the best way to go.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly brave, incredibly courageous. It's something that I talk so much about because I think it's so important, because it takes so much to be able to, when you get your family, to put you and your family first and to make big decisions like that. I think it's absolutely commendable. What do you think you've learned about yourself as a person through this experience that you've been through? Now, you've got your wife and your little girl, and life in that way, and that side of your life is pretty good, right? So what do you think you've learned about yourself, having come from where you've come from to where you are?
It's funny because if you asked me that question before I had my therapy, I wouldn't think too much of myself, because that was the mind state I had. But looking to what I had, so this 60-year-old lad sitting on a doorstep waiting to get in a home that you didn't know what was going to happen to. I'm sitting here in my daughter's room, in my own home and family. I think I'm a bit of a fighter. I've faced a lot, and and there are challenges, and it wasn't easy to get where I am. I have faced knockbacks as well, but I think I had the courage to continue. So, for example, when I looked at when I realised there was something wrong, when I moved out and all these emotions started happening that I had suppressed, I knew I needed help. And then the first time when I reached out for it, I was kind of brushed aside. It was kind of, well, you got this option and that option, and that's really it. And it really knocked me back. But then, speaking to my wife and stuff, I gave it another go. And I went back to the same place, had someone completely different who was really loving and caring and stuff. So I just get through the challenges that are put in front of you. It is difficult, and I have faced a lot, but I like to think I've been strong for it, really, and achieved a lot.
I think, listen, I think it's incredible. I think the two things that I take from what you've just said there, the first one is like the strength and the courage to ask for help, like, and how that is actually being resilient. But to get that kickback as well, and then to still think, no, I am worthy of help, because I know how hard it can be to reach out for help, and a lot of people do, and if they're not met with the help that they need and deserve on the first time, they may never reach out and help again, and ask for help again. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that you've done it, you've allowed yourself to go to therapy as well, to do that, and I know how huge it is to start recognizing in yourself how strong you are. You know what I mean? Because I do, and I know what it's like to not see it in yourself, because I did it for so long. I didn't believe any, positive stuff about me. So I think it's incredible. I genuinely think you're an inspirational person. I do.
Thank you.
I genuinely as well, because to come from what you've come from and to create a family and a loving home, I'm feeling emotional now. Like, I know that's like beyond the wildest dreams. Like
Yeah.
I always say, like when I was at a certain age, like when I was a young kid, a young boy, and things were quite bad in my house, like I didn't want to. I didn't care about anything else. Like I didn't dream about being a footballer or anything. I loved football, but I didn't dream about that. I just dreamt about having kids and being a good dad. And that was like, if I did that, because it seemed like a dream. Do you know what I mean? It seemed,
Mm.
like people dream about being a footballer or whatever, and it felt so hard to reach. And so I think it's I think I'm sometimes in awe of you as a dad, and I mean that.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, it is. That goal was at times almost seemed impossible and stuff like that. But I think because I saw what shouldn't happen and stuff like that, and I just wanted to be different. I just had that drive to be different. And yeah, I reached my goal, and it's the best feeling in the world. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah,
It really is.
I love that you're sat. Is that the cot I can see in the back as well behind you?
It is.
It's
I'm
just
sitting on the
this
rocking
is
chair.
so perfect that you're sat in there. Listen, before we end this, uh, is there anything else that you want to add? Is there anything that you would say to anybody that might be struggling, that might be in a similar situation to what you went through?
If I was to tell someone in a similar situation, that obviously, it is very difficult. There will be knockbacks. It's not, like I said before, it wasn't the case of I reached out, help, and got it. I was knocked back a couple of times. But keep going, because there is an end result.
Yeah.
And just work through it. If you got someone you can speak to about it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I look back and I just wish I told friends really how I felt, and I think that would have helped the healing. So whenever you're ready, just talk.
Amazing. Martin, this has been incredible. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to share this with people. I know it's going to help a lot of people, so thank you.
Thank you very much.